In this video I'll show you a simple yet powerful trick that will lead you to free wins, and also what happens when you don't use it. I start off the match by going into this enclosed room to control the off angle, forcing their tracer away and setting myself up to poke or flank depending on the situation. Seeing as their Kiriko wasted both cooldowns, I judge it's worth it to pounce on the opportunity, because I know my tracer can follow up on my dive. With a pick secured, I walk to an off angle while waiting for my cooldowns to see if I can get any staggers. So close to a 5k. I started off the match hot, and unfortunately, that distracted me from what I had to do to maintain the advantage. Can you spot my mistake? If your answer was not setting up, you're absolutely correct. Watch as the enemy team puts their Ashe on the uncontested high ground and zones off our entire team because we didn't move up to control that space away from them. At this point, we are screwed. Our Queen is holding an aggressive corner near the checkpoint, which would be great if we could actually help her, but we can't. To do that, we would need a DPS on the high ground, preferably me, to prevent the enemy team from using it. Not only that, this off angle is amazing for us, as it creates a crossfire our opponents can't hide from if they go contest point, and provides me with perfect staging for a dive, as I can simply drop to be on top of the enemy backline instantly. As for the rest of the team, our supports should be holding the right side angle, controlling valuable space while maintaining LOS of the tank and DPS, and our tracer could be playing in many different positions considering how self-sufficient she is and the amount of short-range off angles existent on this area of the map. With this setup, our opponents would have a hard time recontesting, as the area around the checkpoint is incredibly dangerous and any angle besides main is contested and would cost them time and resources to fight for, giving us free push and potentially an uncontested halfway point capture. Instead, the situation is flipped on its head, with the enemy team holding all the space and being able to stop the bot safely, and our team having to take a risky fight in the open or fall back and flank to take the power positions away from our opponents. Unfortunately, instead of backing up, our Queen walks in the open and the expected happens, despite our best efforts. The fight drags on and we get some trades, but it's ultimately a lost cause. I managed to live on enemy territory and tried to get a cheeky pick, but I make too much noise, ruining the sneak attack and staggering really hard. And the staggers don't stop there. One by one, we get picked off, and soon enough, our lead is gone. The map is now flipped, and, unlike us, our opponents have set up their angles, so I go clear the tracer right here on the right, so I can use that side to reach the Ashe later. Unfortunately, we're too slow to stop them from reaching the checkpoint, but we can at least win this big ult fight and stop the bleeding. In hindsight, I really wish I saved Blade, but since I didn't know if we're winning or not, I thought it was better to guarantee the fight rather than risk losing it due to greed. Here, I think about the ult economy, which is just Rampage versus Bob. Alright, we should look to force Suzu and then rush the backline with Queen ult. Oh god, I don't have enough time to think and there is a Bob in our backline, what is even going on, who do I go for? This was a mess. Planning between fights is great, but in this case I was too slow and thus failed to identify my priority based on the information I had. My initial positioning was okay since it played to Genji's strengths, but it failed to account for what my opponents had in mind, which was to path top so Ashe could have an amazing sideline to shoot from. Had I considered that, I would have played here to prevent her from walking out uncontested, forcing her to either back off and look for another angle or to fight me at a disadvantageous position. With the damage already done and resources getting traded everywhere, the fight devolves into a deathmatch, and unfortunately, we don't play well enough to turn it around. It's not all bad though, as we can regroup faster than they can, and that allows us to force an early coalescence. We look to kite it, but Ashe comes back on a flank and gets her Juno. I attempt to go on her and make things even, but ultimately should have just backed up and cut their losses short instead of giving them extra push from staggering once again. I remember looking at the stats and being really frustrated, considering I was basically the only one who got picks. But looking back at the replay, I honestly have more to blame for than anyone else. Luckily for me, the enemy team starts getting sloppy, and so I find a quick pick on the Ashe and follow that up with another one on the Mora. Considering these 2 kills and the proximity of our spawn, I don't want to give them any more point progress, so I contest it and get surprised with their queen ult, which makes things scarier than they should be, as this was, quote unquote, already won in my mind. We do in fact win, and all it cost was a few extra meters in exchange for the rampage, so that's a W in my book. We're once again in the middle of the map, but this time their Mora gets overconfident and loses her head for it. We'll look to push, resources get traded, and I choose the safe play of dashing to the mega health pack since I was burning and my deflect wasn't gonna get me all the way behind cover. After safely waiting for my cooldowns, I look for a play on their Kiriko and get a quick assassination, then focus on their queen, and from here it's cleanup duty. Hey Tracer, bye Tracer! With their whole team wiped out, I move up to avoid repeating the mistake that cost us our snowball last time, setting up right below the high ground for a surprise play. Now, all I have to do is wait for the fight to start, and then swoosh! The ninja dashes out of the shadows and slices through the enemy team with a vengeance. And then he finishes off the foolish flame prey that think they can outrun their predator. We needed that play, and with it, we are back in the game. One more good fight and we should take the lead, but this next one isn't gonna be easy. Our Tracer gets a nice opening pick, but they respond with a Bob to equalize and just barely fail to get their Ashe and Kiriko during our bursts of impact. With both our DPS being forced to wait for another cooldown cycle, they push hard and get kills, and while I do get one myself when I'm once again ready to go in, it's still a little too late. We unfortunately lose the close spawns provided by the forward checkpoint, but in exchange gain a positional advantage that causes their queen to get split and picked off when trying to reach our backline. Our tank also gets eliminated, but we ultimately win due to our Juno ult.
Bye, have a great time!
I push up to the high ground to set up, which is exactly what I should be doing in theory, but some teammates are still coming back, and thus I'm forced out since we like the pressure on main for me to stay there. They Kitsune rush in, so we play this corner to force them out of it. Since they waste Suzu, our queen rampages in and I look to follow up, but unfortunately miss most of my damage and die. Luckily, my team carries this crucial fight, and now the next one will decide the outcome of the game. We have a big ult combo in the form of Kitsune Blade, but I'm kinda late due to my death, which worries me. Kiriko pulls the trigger and I'm forced to go in without a perfect setup. But when I can swing this fast, it doesn't really matter who I'm focusing down, and soon enough, our opponents are shredded to bits. With the lead soon in our hands and all the space in the world available, it would be tempting to push up and set up, but since we're so close to their spawn and the map opens up near the end, I simply look for some early poke while scouting before falling back to play around the big arch, since we need to bait them in so we can get close without losing too much HP from walking in the open like our queen was doing. We Juno ult for sustain, but can't really push through the choke to use it. Instead, they push us with a 1v5 Blade leading the charge, and it goes as well as expected. Hashtag Blade sucks, am I right? The fight devolves into chaos, but since they overpushed and got basically nothing out of it, we easily clean up, securing the victory. The big takeaway from this match is the importance of setting up. If you're a short-range character like Genji, find ways to get close without getting poked out, and whenever possible, do so without relying on your cooldowns. If you're a longer range hero instead, play sidelines that best suit you and try to keep your distance from threats looking to exploit your weak fists. If you want your blades to look like mine in this game instead of the enemy one near the end, check out this amazing Colosseum match to learn how I do it.